Hi, I'm Peyton.
I'm Sam.
This is Uncontrolled Population. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Today, we're getting into the topic of energy. Kind of a broad topic, but we're going to both kind of give our individual stories and experience with energy. But first, as always, what do we got going on in the world, Peyton?
Current events.
Woo!
Okay. So, this first one I got from the BBC.com. Today is April 2nd. And so, basically today, we've talked about the glass cliff theory. Sam brought that up a couple episodes ago, and it's basically when we put a woman in charge of an already sinking ship, and then so she's kind of, has to take the blame for it and stuff like that. And so we saw that with actually honestly a bunch of people, but today we're talking about Pam Bondi. So she was actually fired literally from Attorney General, which just like fucking Kristi Noem, she was fired a while back, but then she was kind of basically shoveled around to a new position. So basically that's what's happening to Pam Bondi.
Gone, but not totally gone.
Yeah. So now she's just transitioning to a new job in a private sector. So Todd Blanche will be acting Attorney General. Honestly, I don't know anything about that man. So
I know that he's buckling under pressure and that he was tasked with investigating the Epstein files.
Okay.
He just recently had an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ew.
Basically blowing smoke up Trump's ass.
Oh, so a Trump loyalist. Okay.
A Trump loyalist. Oh, yeah, he's a Trump loyalist.
Great.
Anybody that's a part of that administration or has a job doing anything is a Trump loyalist.
Yeah.
Blind as fuck and just, anyways.
Yeah, so then also, I got this other part of it's on the Bill of Rights Institute.org. So this week, I guess the Supreme Court hears the mail-in ballot case and also the birthright citizenship case. So both of them are really, really, really stupid to even be, heard in court again, because it's like we already have the law in place. This is honestly getting ridiculous. It's wasting our tax dollars. It's wasting people's time. It's wasting, again, money that should be going to people that need it, people that have paid into taxes, which is also undocumented citizens, I might add, also pay into our tax fund and then don't receive any benefits. So, yeah. That's basically what's going on this week in our current events.
But thankfully there are a couple of good things. One, Trump is losing so badly in that case against birthright citizenship that he ended up walking out of the courthouse.
Love it.
Didn't say nothing to no one. Apparently took pictures with Pam Bondi. This was yesterday. Apparently took pictures with Pam Bondi and then kicked her. Kicked her out and fired her. And
that just goes to show, I just real quick want to state, especially to women and specifically these white women, is just because you have proximity to these men in charge and these elitist fucked up people does not mean that you are gonna have any power when it comes to anything, because push comes to shove, they're misogynistic, they don't like women, and honestly they're gonna use you until they don't need you anymore and they're gonna throw you away. So it's let's use this as a lesson to stop furthering the patriarchy's and white supremacy's bullshit just because you think you're gonna get power, because we look at even fictional things like Handmaid's Tale, where we see just Serena Joy fucking ends up getting her finger chopped off because she reads, and she was the one of those women that was instrumental in creating that world for it to be fucked up for women. So let's just think about it. Let's stop doing that.
It actually kind of goes into this quote that I saw earlier today when I was clearing out my photos. It was, when the power of love triumphs over the love of power, we will be free.
Yeah.
And all these people, Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, what was his name? That's gonna replace
Oh,
Bondi.
Todd
Todd
Blanche.
Blanche, him too, Hegseth, of course, the biggest dictator of them all, Trump. They all just want power. They can't get
Yeah.
enough of it. And it's hard to say, and especially because of how cliche it sounds, but really, in this case, like love is our greatest weapon. Having each other and supporting each
Community.
other and
Yeah.
community is our greatest weapon. And that kind of ties
Collective
into, yeah,
energy.
collective energy. I like it because they cannot, they're scared of that, honestly. Like
Yeah.
when the collective comes together, it is so much bigger than them.
Yeah.
And it scares them because there's really nothing that they can do about it when all of us unite as one.
And there's, again, way more of us than there are of them. We've seen this
Yeah.
theme over and over again, even down to like A Bug's Life when they're fighting against
Yeah.
the grasshoppers. Like,
Oh my God. I got to watch
yeah.
that again. That's a
Honestly,
good
it's
one.
really good. Me and Steph watched it not too
Hell
long
yeah.
ago again. And I was like, aw.
There's a
I
bunch of
just
media out
love,
there.
yeah. And I love that there's themes like that for kids' movies because it's like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's a very good thing to teach kids of like, yeah, like you're stronger in groups, you're stronger together. You can make a bigger change and a bigger impact if you use all your collective energy.
That reminds me of something that I completely forgot about, but I want you to remind me of it. It has to do with kids and energy,
Okay.
if I forget.
Okay.
But that ties into my good news for the day. So, here in our state of Colorado, this actually took place. North America's largest wildlife overpass opens for animals to safely cross in Colorado.
Woo!
So, thank goodness, because the biggest issue, one of the bigger issues when you're going up to the mountains, aside from like falling rocks, is deer and elk and moose coming out in front of your car. And you either have to swerve to avoid it, putting yourself at danger, or you have to hit the animal.
You
And
unfortunately
unfortunately,
kill or
that
hurt
kid,
that.
yep, kill or maim them. And then somebody has to come out and end it for that poor animal suffering. So thank goodness that this happens. This is over I-25, actually. Greenland Wildlife? It's called the Greenland Wildlife Overpass. And it says moose, elk, black bears, and mountain lions are now able to cross 6 lanes of interstate highway traffic along I-25 Lake Spur, Colorado, thanks to an opening of North America's largest wildlife overpass. The Colorado Department of Transportation completed construction of the structure in Douglas County in December by covering the overpass surface with dirt and vegetation.
Yay.
That's so cool. I love it when integration between man-made construction and nature blends like this.
Yeah.
And we need more of that, honestly.
We do. Because now it's like, honestly, we moved into the animals' territories and then we built all this shit and then they get killed from it or can't get food or
that's not their fault.
whatever. Yeah.
It's not their fault. That's just nature. That's just them doing what they're biologically programmed to do. If a road's in the way, they don't care. They're going to get over it. And unfortunately, humans are also using it and then they get killed. That's not their fault. So that was a really nice little piece.
We need to have more of those.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of nature, we're going to get into energy a little bit.
Yep.
So most of the stuff that I'm going to be pulling from, most of it, not all, but most of it's going to be coming from this book that I read a while ago called The Celestine Prophecy. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about how this book came to find me, because I don't feel like I found it.
Okay.
I was sitting for my mom's friend, house sitting for my mom's friend while she was out of town, her and her husband. I was watching their 2 dogs. And she wanted me to walk their dogs like once a day, around the neighborhood. So one of these days I was doing that. And there was, she had like a bigger dog that was kind of like different colors. His name was Apollo. And another dog I forgot the name of, but she was like a black, medium-sized dog, kind of rotund. And when I was walking them, there was another dog that looked exactly like her.
Okay.
That came out off the leash and just like started playing. And the lady that owned this dog said, "No, he's fine. He's fine. They're playing. Are you with so-and-so?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm house sitting for her." "Oh yeah, they're friends. They always come by." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So while they're playing, I actually start chatting with this lady.
Okay.
Her name was Danny. And I don't really talk to her too much, but we started talking about aliens.
Okay.
She actually had an experience when she was younger, where she had an encounter. And I just kind of like, entertained it. Not that I
Okay.
didn't believe her, but I kind of got like an interesting feeling for her. And then from her, I should say.
Okay.
And then she ended up telling me about the Celestine prophecy and she lent me her copy of it.
Okay.
So that's how the book came to me. And
Okay.
then when I started reading it, it actually talked about synchronicities as one of the first things. So, how this book is structured, there's 9 of these so-called insights in the book. And each one, you need to learn like it one by one in order to get the full picture. And it talks about energy and it talks about synchronicities. It talks about energy between people. It talks about children and energy. And at the very end, it talks about how eventually people are, according to this book, and I really hope that this is true because it doesn't seem to be going in this direction, unfortunately. But at the very end of the book, the 9th insight is humans will eventually, of their own volition, start to decrease the population. So, not have as many kids,
Mm.
more plentiful space on Earth for people to actually enjoy it, enjoy like these 500-year-old trees where people are able to get their energy from. Things are going to be automated, which is where we are
Where we're
going more in a
going.
direction
Because
of
I
with
will
data
say,
centers.
even with the decline in birth rate is it's becoming a thing now all over the globe.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like South Korea.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually in America, like we're starting to have a decline in women having kids. I
Wow.
think.
So it's more like cities and nature will basically live in harmony or in more of like a harmonious way. And
What is that called? Like something punk. It's not cyberpunk, it's the other one.
nature punk?
I don't know. There's something like that
I could
where
look it up.
it's like a
Uh,
kind of futuristic thing, but incorporated with like plants and energy.
I will definitely look that up here in a little bit. That is interesting. I didn't know there was a term for it. It's like the opposite of dystopia. Interesting. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm pulling from. Um, and when I started to dive into like energy, I didn't really. I, it also helps that the thing that really broke me into it before the Celestine prophecy was actually hallucinatory substances.
So
Psilocybin and LSD were both my gateways into energy,
okay.
especially when they altered my perception to the point where I believed that I could actually physically see energy within myself and within other things. That's what the book actually talks about. So it follows this guy. He's mainly unnamed, and I think he only gets named once, but he's supposed to represent us going through this journey. He goes to Peru and has this big adventure. And I think it's like the 3rd insight when it starts talking about like the physical manifestation of energy through all things. So at first he looks at like a plant and he's at this monastery where there's a bunch of other people that are on the same journey with him.
Okay.
They're all trying to find like pages of a manuscript, this old ancient manuscript that predates the Dead Sea Scrolls, like old thing. And it's predicting all of these things and giving insights. So they're at this monastery. He bumps into somebody and then she kind of teaches him how to see energy. The way that in the book they describe it is you squint your eyes just right and you're able to see it from like plants, from people. Sometimes it's in different colors.
There is energy readings.
There's energy
people
readings.
that do like aura readings that can see energy because you can see energy
I
if
believe
you're
it.
trained.
If you're trained, and I think if you also
practice.
have, I think it starts with an S, synesthesia.
Oh yes.
To an extent, I think synesthesia is where like sounds produce colors in your mind. But there's also other variations where you could actually physically see an aura of color or an aura of something around somebody. Yeah, I've heard about that too. So, I've never experienced that sober. I've only experienced it maybe when I'm in an altered state of mind.
Okay.
But I do believe in like seeing it because I've experienced it. Like I've experienced feeling it. Especially when you walk into a room and you could tell that somebody's either pissed off or not having a good day or they're like incredibly happy. Like when somebody's mood shifts from
Right.
one day to the next. You can tell.
Oh
Um,
yeah. And I think when you're very we talked about it last week, but um when you're like hyper aware of your environment and you grow up in that, and it's almost like a, no, I wouldn't say coping mechanism, a survival instinct maybe.
mhm.
Just so you can read the room. So it's like, again, a lot of people can do this. But yeah, like Sam said, like when you walk into a room and you're like, ooh, like I feel like, I don't know, someone just had a fight, or like you
Mhm.
could feel the vibes, or obviously if someone's upset, like it could kind of rub off on you.
That's
And I
true.
think
Yeah.
growing up, I didn't realize that that's maybe what I was feeling, because I grew up like a very anxious kid, very stressed out. But I think I was always in these very stressful environments where it was like I was feeding off the energy, and it just, yeah, you do feel it.
I got a question for you because this actually is something that got brought up in the Celestine prophecy. There's like these control dramas which people use in order to gain energy, as they're
Okay.
called. There's four of them. There's the interrogator control drama. There's the intimidator control drama. There's the poor me control drama, and the aloof control drama. So when you think of your parental figure, were they constantly asking you questions? Were they more like overbearing and kind of scary? Were they aloof and like kind of withdrawn?
I would say, ooh, that's a good.
Or were they like poor me? Like playing like the victim card?
Um, I would say maybe my mom was a little bit more aloof. Like I would say she was a hands-on parent, but maybe not super in tune or aware of everything all the time.
More like in our own world?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um like it was like when she was there, she was very on top of it, but like when she wasn't there, it was like everything was fucked up. So it was like, but she didn't really account for that, if that makes sense.
Like didn't take accountability?
No, just more like she put us in a lot of situations where like then that's where shit happened to us. But like I
Mm.
don't think she necessarily obviously knew that, but it was
Mm.
like more like kind of like that. So
Okay.
maybe I would say the opposite of a helicopter parent.
I haven't even heard of that term before,
Oh,
helicopter parent.
helicopter
What does
parent.
that
Okay, so
mean?
basically like a helicopter parent is like an overly anxious parent. They're very controlling, very like just trying to basically control the whole thing. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And they're very like hands-on. They don't let their kids do a lot of shit.
That sounds like
Um
my mom.
okay,
Yeah.
so that was your mom. So yeah, my mom would be honestly, I feel like kind of the opposite.
Interesting.
She was like almost sometimes too chill, I would say, which I mean, I would say it turned out totally fine, but yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, because everybody needs to get, well, I don't say, I should say this in a different way. Everybody needs energy. They got to
Yeah.
get energy from somewhere. Most of the time, without thinking about it, we get energy from each other.
Okay.
And we do that through, in a negative way, sometimes these control dramas when we're not able to get energy from what's called the source.
Okay.
I'll get to the source in just a little bit, but mine, I grew up with a parent that was an intimidator and an interrogator. So that
Okay.
made me aloof. That's how it correlates. So with
Oh.
your parent being aloof, my natural instinct is to say that you grew up as either an intimidator or an interrogator.
I would say
Interrogator.
probably both. Yeah.
Because you ask questions from
Yeah.
people, to like make them feel included,
Yeah.
maybe even to share a little bit of your energy with them
Yeah.
too. But it usually is one that causes the other when you're in your
Okay.
childhood, right? So for me, because my mom was an interrogator and she'd ask questions, I took that part in order to make people feel, well, to get energy as well as to make people feel comfortable too, like, and
Okay.
to include myself in the conversation.
Okay.
Whenever, like, I learned to ask these like questions, like even when I'm Twitch streaming and I'm with like
Okay.
a group of streamers that I've never been with, which actually happened recently. I'd
Okay.
ask questions, or I'd I tell jokes, but
Okay.
usually I'd ask like, "What's your favorite candy? What's one place that you've always wanted to visit?" And so on and so forth, to like break the ice, and kind of that's my go-to in order
Okay.
to
Like bring people in.
kind of bring people in, yeah.
Okay.
But these are also things that, can be, and obviously they're not just these things, right? This is just according to the book,
Right.
because there's so many more out there in reality.
Right.
But just for the sake of it, we're just sticking to this, in my example at least. So I feel like a lot of these are more rooted in like unresolved issues and traumas,
Yeah.
because when you're able to get energy from, let's say, going and hanging out with your friends is one way, and then your friends reciprocating energy and you giving energy to them, it's a feedback loop when everybody feels, recharged from that.
Yeah.
That's ideal, because they have their energy reserves, you have your energy reserves, you're giving to them, but you're also receiving in return.
Yeah.
It feeds off of each other. But sometimes, and I'm sure that you can attest to this, there are people that you have conversations with and you feel left drained.
Yeah.
Or they might be left drained, depending on however that goes.
Yeah.
Because some people will willingly just like give you their energy, give it until there's nothing left. Because that's how they know to like stay away from danger. If they were raised in like a more turbulent household, they'd give their energy away.
Oh, yeah.
And there's different ways of doing that too, But yeah, it's just it's just interesting when I did read this book, because a lot of things like kind of made sense and connected. And all these insights, I could go through every single one of them, but I have to look it up because I don't know them by heart. But they all fed into each other, one after the other. And when I started getting into energy and like how it works between people and the dynamic, I didn't see this in like a textbook. This isn't like the traditional energy that you think of like, oh yeah, if you eat your calories, then they get converted to energy and then you're able to function. Or, like the energy running through your household, or like a generator energy. This is like I feel like this has more to do with like quantum physics type of energy.
Yeah, and I think knowing that like maybe humans can't see everything or experience everything, like honestly, because there's a lot of times, for instance, where it's like I'll be with another person, and again, a lot of times it's with Steph, where it's like she'll think something, I'll say it, I'll think something, she'll say it. Or another one that's very interesting that once I realized, it was like, okay, weird, like it happens all the time. So for instance, if you're watching a movie or a TV show or something, and this has happened to me so many times, but it's like whatever's happening on the TV show or in the song, there's some little weird thing happening out in the world that it's like it's correlated to. Like for instance, one day I was driving and I was listening to a song, and it was a song honestly I haven't heard in a really long time. And it was like I was literally switching lanes, and then the next verse on the song was about switching lanes. Or one time I was cutting onions for cooking, and then the show was talking about onions.
Wow. Yeah.
So just like weird things where it's almost like, okay, like, yeah, coincidence, but also it's something interesting to notice, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cool synchronicity where you're like, okay, it was kind of like I'm meant to be here at this point. And yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely believe in that. Like I've had that happen as well. When I first started to understand that was a thing, it was when I was under the influence.
Okay.
That's when it happened the most. I feel like when I was inebriated on a hallucinogen, I became more open or more aware. I couldn't tell which one. I feel like I became more open.
Okay.
And therefore, these things either started happening to me or I was aware enough to notice them. My perception was altered.
So I think, honestly, like, I guess my theory is I have noticed that a lot of women, and I don't know if it's because of, like, we talk about epigenetics of like being aware of your surroundings or what, but I've noticed a lot of women are more open to seeing this type of energy and things like that. And they don't necessarily always need to maybe do drugs or whatever to see that in the beginning. But I have noticed that, and again, this is like my experience, my group of whatever, but I have noticed that men have a harder time seeing into that thing because it's not necessarily like coming from a logic standpoint.
Yeah.
It's coming from more of like sensing something or feeling something that you can't really.
Metaphysical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't put into words really. You can't see it. It's more something that's like felt. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of men are in their ego, so they don't necessarily tap into that all the time.
Oh, the ego. Oh my God. The biggest blocker between you and energy.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting, but I feel like, because at least in my experience of men in my life, a lot of my guy friends in the past and whatever, they all have partaken in psychedelics. And so I think when I've noticed that once men do things like that, they are more open to looking at their environment and kind of being able to read it a little bit better. But yeah, kind of interesting.
I have a theory because from the videos I've watched and research I've done on psychedelics, mainly psilocybin and on DMT, like ayahuasca, there was this guy, I think his name was Vsauce.
Okay.
He's a big YouTuber and he went to South America so that he could be hooked up to a mental or something that measured his brain waves while he was under the influence of ayahuasca and DMT. Okay. And they noticed that the part of your brain that's kind of intertwined and kind of functions as the center for ego gets turned down, if not shut off completely. And that's why they call it ego death. Because your ego literally dies. I mean, it comes back. It always does. But it's like a reset of the brain. And then for a while, it takes a little bit for that ego brain to kick back in. And but it does alter your brain. Like, yeah. Anybody out there?
Because it does connect neural pathways. Because even honestly, like smoking weed and, you know, again, altering your state in any way, it does connect your neural pathways.
And literally psilocybin has been known to generate neurogenesis, which is the generation of new neurons in your brain. I think we talked about that on Fires of Change too, which, dude, there are so few substances, like I think only 5 or something like that, less 10 or less in the entire world that's known to do that. And mushrooms are one of them.
Yep. And honestly, I will say, because I've only ever really like microdosed them before. And I feel like now looking back, when I was under the influence, I feel like they were trying to tell me something. And when I eventually obviously sobered up, whatever, I didn't really want to listen to that info and like listen to kind of what my body was telling me. And it's very interesting because now looking back, I'm like, okay, that's exactly what that was doing. Yeah. But it almost made me have, like, I was like, oh, I just had a really bad trip. But in reality, it kind of showed me some shit that I was like, ooh. Because again, my ego was down and I was like, oh, okay, I'm seeing it for what it is.
Yeah. I've always gotten something out of a trip, even if it was a bad trip. Like there's always something that I got in out of it. Something that I learned, either I was going through something and it helped me kind of understand that thing in a different sense that was helpful, or it was a good trip and it kind of affirmed these thoughts that I was already having before and strengthened them. Yeah. Mainly like, I don't have to put so much pressure on myself. That's like the biggest one that I've gotten. Like, I don't have to put so much pressure on myself to appease people. Right. I can do things for myself that brings me joy, which is a form of getting energy, you know? Yeah. I talked about this thing before, which is called the source. And one of my biggest ways of getting energy from the source is to be out in nature, be out in the mountains and be out in the woods. I've walked barefoot in the woods just from a couple of miles and I felt so good afterwards.
Which actually, that is, for people that don't know what grounding is if you're ever stressed out or anxious or whatever, or even like they say it's really good when you travel from time zone to kind of like tap back into that energy. But you want to take off your shoes because like rubber is basically like kind of like a
insulator.
And yeah, but it basically like kind of inhibits energy. So it's like obviously when you need rubber for like if you're an electrician, you need to, block that, whatever.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it also does that with Earth's energy. So it's like if you take off your shoes, go walk around in the dirt or in the grass, it does ground you. It kind of resets your body clock. But yeah, it's really good for you.
So
And
when you saying that, what came to mind is go touch grass,
yeah.
which is a cliche term that people
Yes.
that have a bunch of ego they use to put down people that actually need to calm down and to reconnect. But they'll make fun of it.
Yeah. And like the whole thing of like for instance, I always see it in like conspiracy theorists or kind of along the lines of that where people are like making all these like connections. People are like, oh my God, go touch grass, like that's like too far, whatever. But yeah, no, that's kind of I'm sure where it's probably come from, but yeah, it is like we
Or
all
go
need
hug a tree.
which honestly again is such a good thing to do because I was listening to this creator on TikTok and she was native and she was just talking about how every single thing has like basically like a soul and a vibration and energy and yeah, how it's like we're not separated from it. We're all connected. We're connected to it. We're in it.
Yeah.
We're not outside of it. So yeah, it was a very interesting
And it's
way of looking at it.
it's so interesting that like some people just know that, right? Like it's something that when you were a kid you believed.
Right.
And then as you became an adult, they fed you lies and they fed you like, oh my
The
God, those
propaganda.
kooks that are out there touching grass and hugging trees, they're all crazy. They're disconnected from reality when they're the ones that are more tapped into reality than the person that's telling you that. The person
Right.
that's ego is so inflated that can't see past their nose.
Right.
It's, and I mean, you can go back to like evil and good, and you can say that those people are on one side or the other. But I I genuinely think that they're just uneducated, and I think that they're victims of like this system that we have going on right
And
now.
again, like they are tapped into their own ego because I
Mhm.
know a lot of really good people that I would say they're really tapped into their own ego and they don't necessarily know how to
Disconnect from that.
yeah, and like get outside of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think everyone kind of hopefully goes through like an ego death at one point in their life. Like I would say honestly, mine was probably when I was like 19. I started feeling a little different and having like I started like disassociating and it almost felt like someone kind of described it as like you felt like you were unplugging from your old life.
Mm-hmm.
And before you like plugged into your new life, it was like almost like you're up in the air.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because you're like, what's going on? And like when we had his friend Maddie on our other Fires to Change podcast, we kind of talked about like eating, what did she call it? Eating the elephant?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and how it's like your Kundalini awakening or all these different people call it all types of things. But yeah, just kind of realizing one day that you are tapped into the energy a lot more than you realize. And yeah, you kind of deconstruct the patriarchy, white supremacy, you deconstruct kind of
Start questioning.
Yeah, questioning things and really like more tapping into your own intuition, kind of building up that feeling of what that's like. Cause I think our world has kind of almost made us, and I think by design to detach from that and not necessarily like feel like we can rely on our own selves and to solve things. Like I honestly think a good whatever of that right now is when people use like Chat GBT as like, which one of my besties does it as a therapist or like, which he hasn't been doing it in a while, so I'm proud of him. But just looking to these tools to talk about something that it's like, I think in your mind you already know.
Yeah.
And if you were to just like maybe journal, and like there's actually been studies that say that you have a less chance of like, I think like dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff if you write for just like 5 to 10 minutes a day. And like writing with a pen and pencil on paper is something really good to do. And so, yeah, if you just like journal or whatever, eventually you're going to get to the answers you need, but it's like, you have to go on the process. And I think people are
Yeah.
wanting to skip the process.
Yes. Yes. The process is very necessary, but people don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been journaling for a few years at this point, since I was like 19 years old, and that's almost 10 years. Holy shit.
Oh,
Um, and I've gotten to the point where I can feel that unrest within myself, and I know that I can't rely on like an external stimuli. Like I can go and talk to a friend, sure, and vent all this stuff out, but I'm not gonna like really solve anything.
right.
And I go back to journaling. I'll just write out whatever I'm feeling, ask myself questions, and then be able to write answers on paper. And then I can go back and like read it if I want to, go back through it as many times as I want to. And it always helps. Like it always, always, always helps whenever I'm able to journal. Like just to, it actually, I feel like is a form of meditation in
Yeah,
itself.
I
Um,
agree.
and I was actually talking to somebody earlier today as I was telling them about this podcast. He said, I believe that meditation is you being able to realign yourself so that your energy isn't going in a million different places at once. And to
Yeah.
hear that as somebody that self diagnosed himself as having ADHD,
Okay.
and knowing that my energy gets expunged so quickly when I go from this thing to this thing to this thing to this thing to this thing and to this thing. And I'm like, oh my God. That mental overload is my energy reserves being depleted super, super quick. And
Yeah.
then I pull myself back in. I breathe a few times. I feel more at center, more in line with myself.
Yeah.
And I feel better. I feel less scattered. I feel my energy being more regulated. And I'm able to either continue on or just enjoy that moment and really feel okay, like not anxious as fuck.
Yeah.
I can literally feel it in my heart whenever I start getting anxious. I can feel like the blood pressure elevating.
Yeah. And honestly, like, because when I did somatic therapy for a while, which is kind of, it's more the bottom to top approach. So for years, I was doing talk therapy. And now that I'm in OCD therapy, I realized that like talk therapy was almost making my OCD worse because it
Mm,
was so about like repeating and like I was like almost like reinforcing my obsessions and stuff.
hmm.
And so I had switched to somatic therapy. And this was again before I even knew what OCD was. So I had like no idea. And I did it for years and I was like, why am I not feeling better with therapy? So when I did somatic therapy, my throat is so dry. This weather's killing me. But
Mm,
basically it's about like regulating your body. Like, yeah, you're gonna have thoughts and stuff pop in your mind, or you're gonna be going through something, but how do you get back to regulation?
yeah.
And for me, it was a lot of time my awareness was in my chest and my throat,
Hmm.
and I'd have all this anxiety and stuff. So I had to learn like bring it back down to the center.
Mm.
And yeah, you get more back into your body.
How would you do that? What would you do?
Sorry, guys.
You're good.
Yeah, just kind of like what you said, where you close your eyes and you breathe. Before we'd start our sessions, we would close our eyes and you kind of notice like what's something you hear in the background. Do you notice any smells? Notice your feet touch the ground. Notice you sitting on what chair you're sitting on, or if you're laying in a bed. You just really want to tap into the surroundings that you're in and really get a feel for the environment you're in.
Mm,
Um
hmm.
And so just by doing that kind of stuff, it kind of brings you back to, yeah, your own energy, because it's like a lot of times in our minds, especially me with like OCD, like I have really bad repeating thoughts of like scenarios and it gets kind of overwhelming and stuff sometimes. So for me, a place in my head is not necessarily like okay, let's figure it out and a reprieve. So like I have to do external things. So like
Hmm.
obviously like journaling or talking to a friend, because I would say I maybe what's the word? I figure out what I'm saying as I'm saying it. Like I have
Oh yeah.
to like verbal process.
Hmm.
And so for a lot of people out there that are verbal processors, a lot of times there's like 50 different voices going on in your head. So it's like either you need to write it out on paper or you need to tell a friend, or honestly, you could even like speak it out loud if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you could kind of like organize your thoughts a little bit better.
Yep.
Um, but going beyond that, if you've already like done that and you're still having these racing thoughts and stuff, yeah, it's like you tap back into your own energy. I really like to do YouTube. They have a bunch of different videos, but 432
Hurts.
hertz frequency
Yeah.
music is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
to listen to.
Hmm.
And there's a bunch of different frequencies of music to listen to like help you and like actually feel like you're calming down and stuff and regulating. But yeah, there's a bunch of different exercises. Like if we ever want to do an exercise, we could totally do that
That'd
of
be
stuff I've
awesome.
done. But yeah, it's just helping and really tapping back into the present moment and like what you're feeling, and yeah, kind of getting back in your body, especially for people that have like problems like with disassociating.
Yeah.
It's really really good to do that, to just kind of get back in your body. And a lot of times you don't realize like for me, sometimes I forget to eat. I've kind of had like a food struggle my whole life, so it's like one of those things where it's like when I do come back into my body, I'm like, okay, like I think I'm just hungry and I'm feeling this way because I haven't drank water, or you know what I mean? My basic human needs haven't been met. So
Hmm.
also making sure those are met is a
That's
very
big.
big,
Yeah.
helpful thing you can do to make sure you stay more present and in your body.
So uh, there's a lot on that. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. That's awesome. One of the first ones is I actually ended up teaching that friend of mine that I talked to you that I mentioned earlier today.
Okay.
A breathing technique that helped him, and it was to 3 big deep breaths. Inhale as much as you possibly can, and then pay attention to how your body feels for just a second, and then exhale everything. And for me, whenever I do that, I'm able to feel like cooling sensations or like tingling sensations, usually on my shoulders and my head or down my
Okay.
back. And then I continue to do that for 2 more times. And I really pay attention to the room noise. I pay attention to how my body feels in ground, just like how you
Yeah.
said. And it really, it really helps. Like I've been doing it
Yeah.
a hell of a lot recently. I do it when I'm walking around for my job. Um, More so, I'll just like take these deep sighs without even thinking about it. It's
Yeah.
becoming self-regulatory at this point. And it's also because I'm walking around that I need to, regulate my heart rate and keep it a little bit lower, just like when you breathe when you're exercising, right? And like take deep breaths.
Well, and honestly, I'm glad you said that because, okay, for instance, like in science, they say like energy is not created or
Or
destroyed,
destroyed.
it's just
Yep.
transferred.
Hmm.
So when you think about the human body and when people are anxious or upset or angry or whatever the feeling is, that's an energy,
Yeah.
and it's energy that's trapped in your body. So you need to do something to transfer the energy
Hmm.
somewhere,
Hmm.
whether that be like, yeah, when you're breathing out, you breathe in like kind of a deep breath and then breathe out really hard. It's like, okay, you're kind of releasing energy.
Hmm. Yeah. You
But yeah,
literally are.
really,
Like
yeah, working out,
metaphysically, yeah.
releasing energy.
Absolutely. You are depleting your energy stores. And sometimes that helps to dislodge this energy that has been, stuck.
Yeah.
Or some people out there might know this, but there was this old show. Old now, I feel like an old man for saying that. But it was called Avatar: The Last Airbender. Do you remember that by chance?
I did watch it every once in a while.
There was this point at the end where he's trying to get into this like specific state called the Avatar state. He becomes incredibly powerful, but something happened and he ended up closing that off. And he meets this old guru who teaches him how to tap back into it. And they actually go through chakras, different chakras, the mind, the stomach chakra, the heart chakra, and they dislodge these pools of energy that have been stuck. there's obviously it's like a fictional thing,
Right.
and it might look different for everybody, but he literally like had these swirling pools that just didn't go anywhere, and you need that energy to flow through you.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, whenever you're able to like exercise or just breathe or be around somebody that is able to jostle that energy up a little bit in a positive manner, then it becomes unlodged, and then you're able to feel better.
Right.
Your energy flows. And speaking of which, flow, there's a specific state that artists are able to get into. And I think you know about this. It's called flow state. Flow state is when I feel like you're in sync with the activity that you're doing.
Yeah.
So with me and energy, with like music specifically, I I get lost in the music. I stop thinking about the next thing that I'm gonna do, and it just becomes natural. My
Yeah.
energy starts to just flow, and I make music. Um, it's still something that I'm working on. Like I'm not perfect at it, but I love that feeling so much. And usually, I feel good for like the next few hours, if not
Yeah.
days afterwards, because I realigned myself with the specific activity that I love doing, and I ended up getting and replenishing my own energy.
Yeah. No, honestly, I do love those type of things. Like I would say mine would be like when I get into a conversation that I'm really passionate about and it's just like all these facts start coming out that I'm like, "Oh my god, I forgot I like knew about that," and like
Yeah.
kind of the flow state of
Mhm.
that. Or honestly, even when I do like a highlight at work,
Mhm.
cuz like that's another place, like being a hairstylist, like you honestly are kind of an energy worker all day every day. Like yes, people are coming to get their hair done. Yes, they want a certain way, which I will say is already kind of a stressful energy, especially like if a client is going through their own personal life, something, as bad is happening or upsetting is happening, them talking to me about it in the chair, which obviously like that's, part of being a hairstylist,
Yeah.
but I feel that energy and I feel that sadness. A lot of times it's like they tell me things that they haven't told other people. So it's a lot of heavyweight feeling. And so it is nice, like when I am working and I do get into the flow state of like doing a
Mhm.
bunch of highlights and a full head of highlights, because then it's like, damn, all right, cool. Like I just got done foiling the whole head. I didn't think about it. That was kind of nice. Just got in that, yeah, state. But yeah, I feel like the older I've gotten, I've had to really be cognizant and conscious about how much energy I give my clients,
Yeah.
and how much energy I, get from them, because sometimes when that energy is heavy, I'll go home and it's like not only am I sore from working all day, but it's almost like I just took on all this heavy
Yeah.
energy.
Mhm.
And yeah, I still feel like I've learned little techniques and over the years and stuff, it's been helpful, but it's something that I have to practice, like honestly, daily when I do
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
to make sure I'm taking care of my energetic self. But also like, wanting to give to my clients and them
Yeah.
giving back to me and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, actually. That brings me to something I did want to touch on, which is preserving your energy. Because as I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure that you can attest to this, there are clients that take more energy than others, or that you give more energy to than others too. And you can't be doing that to the point where your energy reserves are completely depleted either. Like you just said, you have to reserve your
Yeah.
own. So I want to talk about how you can possibly defend your energy from somebody that's trying to take it, or if you just don't want to give your energy to somebody. So there's a there's a couple. I'm going to stick to just two for right now. The first one is something that I learned from a podcast called Otherworld, and is a practice that this person talked about that actually came from like magic and like
Okay.
sorcery. I forgot exactly what it was called, and I'm gonna have to go and look for that. But basically, it was the practice of imagining a force field or a thin layer of light over your entire body, head to toe, and just imagining and focusing on it continuously. Doing this in the shower, doing this before bed, when you're walking around. I've been able to do this in the past, and I've gotten better at it as I got older and I've become more in tune with energy in general. But it maybe feels a little tingly. It maybe feels like literally light,
Like warm.
like warm, or it makes me feel lighter. It takes forms of different ways, but that's one way. And eventually, when you're practiced enough in being able to do that, when somebody tries to come and take your energy, it plays a effect on your psychological state as well as I'm pretty sure like your physical state too, where maybe you don't want to give your energy to somebody that's like an intimidator or an interrogator and they're constantly asking you questions. Maybe you're maybe you take the state of like a little bit more aloof in not like withdrawing completely from the conversation, but like you won't give them like a 4-page paragraph like you normally would, or like they're asking you to. Maybe you'd give them, like a shorter answer.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're able to disengage from that person if they're posing a problem. Um, and the second way of doing it is just that, which is, if you don't want to give your energy to somebody, you first notice that they are somebody that takes your energy, and then you disengage from that in one way or another. Either you change up the conversation, where they're no longer the person that's just constantly asking you things. Instead, you can
Yeah.
start asking them
Yeah.
questions. Or if they're an intimidator and they're like scary and they're making you afraid of them, like, get away from them. Like, you don't have to be with that person.
Right.
It's difficult because I know that a lot of bosses fall into that category where they hold like the power to fire you or not. So it's a little bit more difficult when it comes to that stuff. And I know that it's harder to find a new job than not, especially these days. So maybe practicing that first technique of putting a barrier up
Yeah.
around yourself would be the best bet. And
Yeah.
it's easier said than done. Always easier said than done. And as somebody that has messed around with this, maybe you as the listener might not be versed in this at all. Maybe this is the first time that you've ever heard of energy in this form before. And maybe everything that I'm saying just doesn't make any sense because you haven't experienced it like me or Peyton have. It doesn't make it any less true. That doesn't mean that if you practice it and just think about like a thin layer of something, of light, of warmth, just covering your entire body with practice, you might be able to do that. You might be able to defend yourself from somebody that's trying to take your energy.
Yeah, and there's other things too, like and a lot of religions do this, but head covering.
Mm,
Like even like in like the witchy community, like head covering is a big thing
mm,
protecting your energy because you're protecting your crown chakra.
yeah.
You could also there's like protection braids, so you can like braid a little piece of your hair. And when you're braiding your hair, think about like yeah, like you could think about like warmth,
Mm,
light,
hmm.
protection, something around you.
Like a necklace with a stone,
Yeah, there's protection crystals.
or like a bracelet
There's
or something that you can.
bracelets, evil eye. There's so
Hmm,
many
hmm.
things over a bunch of cultures that are helpful for protection. But then
Mantras,
mantras,
constantly
yeah.
saying a mantra over and over again. Like an example, just off the top of my head, is I am in charge of my own energy and nobody is help me out here. I'm in charge of my own energy and nobody is.
No one is allowed to take that from me
Just
without my
approval or consent
yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
You can make up your own. There are plenty on the internet.
Oh yeah.
But what a mantra is a way of grounding yourself and attaching yourself to one sentence
Yeah.
or mantra. And then it helps to regulate yourself too.
Yeah. And then there's also like obviously like if there's like post things you can do if your energy has already maybe been compromised or whatever. I personally like incense,
Mm-hmm.
and incense
Me
is
too.
one of those things that is kind of an open practice. Some people do like sage, which me personally, from a lot of people I've heard talk about it, it's a closed practice, which means that unless you're in the culture or in the religion of using sage, you probably shouldn't do it. because they're like everything else, things get exploited. And so the white sage industry is like very exploited and it's over farmed. Yeah. And the way a lot of these places do it isn't ethical. So like if you walk into one of these like witchy shops and it's like you look around and you're like, okay, clearly this is kind of like a colonized area where like, it's some white lady selling some stuff. Like just be cognizant and mindful of, some of the things you're doing.
Yeah.
Like me, again, as a white person, I would not do hoodoo or voodoo because that's not where my ancestors came from. So I'm not going to mess with a closed practice. But yeah, so that's why I really do like incense. And again, there's white sage incense, there's protection incense, there's special blends of incense for protection.
There's people like me and my mom who practice saging, so you can get it from. I could give it to Peyton.
Yeah, because Sam grows his own, so that's where it's like no one's being exploited in that process. It's an ethical source, so you know what I mean. There's stuff like that. Also, you can do kind of going back to the visuals, which I did this in therapy, where you if you had a really long stressful day and you feel like everyone's energy is stuck on you and you feel overwhelmed and whatever, it helps me. For instance, I feel the best when I'm laying horizontal, when I'm laying like down. Other people sitting, however you want to do it. But you basically close your eyes and you sit there and you think of a big like globe around you, like a big circle. And in the circle, there's like a beam of light coming from the top and it like beams into your crown chakra. And then I like to think about it as like a little like air sucker of the bubble, or like some people, there's like a hole of the bubble. So basically like you visualize all the bad things or the bad energy or the overwhelming energy, whatever you want to call it. I personally think of it as like black smoke. And so it's like all of it's leaving my body and it's getting sucked into this like air purifier, air machine,
like
whatever,
vacuum.
like a vacuum, vacuuming it out. And I'm just constantly thinking of that. And like in my brain, I'm processing and I'm like, I have a very vivid memory, so for me it's easy. Some people it might not be that easy. But yeah, you just literally visualize it in your head, and it's weird how it does feel like you do feel a little bit lighter, and then you start to think about good things, and then you could just sit there and think about the beam of light and how that feels. But yeah, like people underestimate how powerful visuals are.
Visualization's huge.
Yeah, you can manifest that way. You can see it before, it happens. And yeah, really, it does help.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to run to the restroom really quick, but I got a question for you before I do. When it comes to visualization, can you talk to a certain extent of like when all you see is negative and how that impacts your perception and vice versa with positive things?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so obviously we live in a time right now where it's very negative. There's a lot of scary shit happening. A lot of us are being affected. And then obviously, like, if we're not being affected, we're seeing people be affected, and that's really scary. It's really hard in a time like this. So I feel like it is really important to create boundaries with yourself, because obviously like me and Sam do this work where we're constantly looking up what's going on in the world. I remember when me and Kylie were doing it, and me and Kylie were doing it every single week, and the energy was heavy. Like we were getting so drained. We were tired. It was really hard. And so we had to take a break. And I think with that break, I realized that it's so important to protect your energy and to make sure you have time for an off, and a time where you can like recharge. Like, so for me personally, lately, I have been watching TV at night more and try not to maybe go on TikTok as much, because I feel like my TikTok is like a lot of like current news and what's going on in the world, which obviously I love and I want to stay informed. But like maybe right before I go to bed is not the best time to like learn this information. So I have tried to start watching like TV shows at night before I go to bed. So like right now I'm watching The L Word, which like, oh my God, I'm so fucking obsessed with The L Word. For those that don't know, it's basically like lesbian Sex in the City. So one of my friends, who's like, I don't know what she is, honestly, but she's a little gay girly pop and falls under the queer umbrella. But she was basically like, okay, like, because obviously, like, I am dating a girl now and stuff. So she was like, okay, you have to watch this show. It's so good. So yeah, that's one thing that I've been doing to like kind of like something that I enjoy, I look forward to. And in the show, like nothing's like that pressing and not stressful. So yeah, just finding those like outlets for things to get out of that stressful stuff, because it's like you really do, we're in a marathon, not a sprint. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like we constantly need to be making sure we're doing good along the way. So that's why we have talked about before, like uh joy is an act of resistance. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like you need to have joy in your life. You need to have reprieve in your life
Yeah.
to build back up that energy storage, to feel better, to keep yourself going on this marathon of a life that we're on, especially with everything going around. So yeah, it's just find things that you really like to do that recharge. And honestly, one of mine is literally laying in bed and doing nothing. I'm like
Mm.
watching a TV show,
Yeah.
or honestly, again, I do love TikTok. Sometimes I try to get on more funny TikToks or like cooking videos. I like to watch those.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, like just really try to find stuff you like, because you do have to recharge your energy, and you can't be going on 0% when you're, you know, constantly watching bad, listening to bad, because that it does take a effect on your psyche.
Like when I was on TikTok, uh, and I think Trump had bombed Iran the first time. You remember
Okay.
that?
Yeah.
Everybody was like all over the place, scared shitless. I remember seeing a bunch of TikTokers doing like the whole, hey, you, come here. Stop doing doom scrolling. All right. We're going to just take a break from that and kind of talking
Yeah.
their audience down. And I appreciated that so much. I need that.
Yeah.
Like it's not the end of the world. We're fine. You're still here. You still have a roof over your head, hopefully. And, you know, people love you, and
Yeah.
making the good become in the face of the audience.
Yeah. Because it is important to make sure that like, and that's why like we've started to do like the good fact too, because it's like a lot of the times we talk about heavy topics that are really hard to digest and really hard to hear. So it's like we do need good in our lives. We do need something to look forward to. We do need, you know, we do need good. We need good energy.
Episodes where it's less about, you know, current politics or the
Yeah.
negative that the government have done, and more about the positives in life,
Yeah.
like energy in general. Like that's,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people aren't aware of energy in general, and, you know, might have be disconnected from it. Like I did before this episode. I was really not paying attention to my energy. And I was just noticing that through doing research on these negative things that the government has done, like Operation Mockingbird, and to some extent Project Stargate,
Mm-hmm.
I started to make the negatives more my focal point, and that was all that I thought of. And I literally had a conversation with one of my friends, and he was like questioning me about like, well, why do you feel this way? And where's that coming from? And I was like, well, I have been doing a lot of research for the podcast. And he was like, yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not sorry for it, because I think
Yeah.
that some of the things that we were talking about needs to be said.
Yeah, no, I
Absolutely 100%.
agree.
And
And
I
that's
also,
why
yeah,
we gotta, you know, keep going.
it's a
That's why, like,
marathon. That's
yeah,
great.
it's a marathon. And that's why, especially during like civil rights and the gay liberation movement, and you know, that time period, it's like people would go protest during the day. They would go to work during the day. They would protest when they got off work. They'd go home and eat dinner. But then it's like, okay, we want to go out and we want to enjoy, and like, let's go dance. That's why for me, like, I love the gay club, because it's somewhere where it's like, honestly, everyone's a little different. And it's a place, especially I think being me and stuff, more like, I would say like two more femme women,
Mhm.
being in a place where like a traditional club where it's like we had a really weird encounter at temple, and like some big ass dude grabbed on us multiple times, and it was honestly so fucking weird. It's it can be kind of scary in environments like that. So it's really, really nice for us to be able to go to a space where it's like, okay, we're safe, it's chill, we can dance without people watching us all weird. It feels good to go and dance and to have
Yeah.
fun.
Where your thoughts aren't constantly monitoring and you're like taken outside of your
Yeah.
body. Yeah, I totally
And it's
get
like
that.
you're letting off steam, you're letting off
Yeah.
energy. But yeah, it's good to do that stuff, especially in a time period we're in where it's so
Absolutely.
fucking stressful
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people are living paycheck to paycheck and people don't have enough money to meet their basic human needs. Yeah, it's a scary time we're living in again,
Yeah.
which history just seems scary in general.
Like go
So
and do
we're
something
living
that
through some
you
history, but
do
yeah.
something that you enjoy, like that genuinely brings you joy. And it does two things. One, it's an act of resistance. So if you're pissed off against the current political environment that we find ourselves in right now, or if you are just trying to give like a middle finger to somebody,
Yeah.
go do something for yourself. You are.
Yeah.
You are 100% giving a middle finger to that person that's like trying to keep you down.
Yeah.
That boss that's trying to take your energy away, or that coworker that's just trying to slight you at the slightest.
Parent that's
Yep.
stressing you out,
Yeah,
friend
parent,
that's stressing you out.
Go do
It's
something
like, yeah,
that you like. If it's playing video games, if it's watching a show, if
playing
it's
the
just being
guitar,
playing
making
the
a
guitar, making a
song,
song, painting,
cooking yourself a nice
cooking.
dinner,
Yes.
art.
There's something that everybody enjoys.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're convinced that that thing is bad. You know, like for me, people have been trying to convince me all my life that playing video games is a waste of time. It gives me energy, dude. It makes me feel good. I'm able to connect with other people
Yeah.
and have good ass conversations with them and feel like I'm not so alone. Like there's somebody else out there like me.
Because a lot of times, and I will say, like, that's what, things like that have brought you community. Because, like, for instance, like our podcast, like, majority of the people in our life, like, this is not their cup of tea. Like, majority of the people in our life are like, okay, we don't really want to, like, get into politics, or like we don't want to listen to that. That's stressful. So it's like, for instance, our audience is not the people we know. Like, it's going to be random people that find us on the internet. It's going to be random community that we find. And then we have a shared interest. So it's like, yeah, video games, obviously, if you're playing 12 hours a day and ignoring your family, that's one thing. Excess of anything is bad. But yeah, it's like video games have brought people connection. It's brought lonely people connection. And if maybe people around them, aren't.
It's a relief for people that have ADHD.
Yeah.
It's a relief for people that have, so many thoughts that are stressing them out. It's just easy to be able to put your focus into one thing. The same thing goes for shows, like a comfort show. Like I know somebody that loves Bob's Burgers and watches Bob's Burgers consistently because it's their comfort show. They just have it running in the background.
Yeah.
And it's something where
it's self-regulating. Because it's like, what I think, and that's what's so many people in my life have that, where it's like they have their comfort show. Like my roommate, it's Pretty Little Liars. Steph, it's been Gilmore Girls. Me, I would say honestly, like Gossip Girl and The Office was a huge one for me.
The Office is funny.
But yeah, it's because it's gonna happen. It's familiarity. It's like you feel like you're part of like the universe when you watch it.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little escape.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways. Just don't forget the ones that you really enjoy.
Yeah. That fills your cup of energy and makes you feel replenished. And
don't let anybody make you feel guilty for it either.
Right.
Because there's so many people that would just cut you down in an instant and dismiss you and dismiss your interests. This goes back to that intuition that we talked about earlier. You were in tune with the fact that you know what you like. Nobody else knows what you like. You know what you like.
Right. Do what you like.
Do what you like.
Yes.
I really don't have much else.
Yeah, no, just,
except
protect
for one.
your energy and
I did go to, and I'm sorry that I saved this for the very end. I did go to the No King's Day 3 protests.
Okay, yes. Tell us a little bit about it.
Dude.
I had to work. I always have to work on Saturdays. But yeah.
You were here in spirit, dude.
I was.
I carried on the podcast then.
Okay, yeah.
So the protest that I went to was at the place that I went to for No King's Day 2. but there were more people there. And I feel like it evolved a little bit. So the first thing that I saw when I got there was this guy who was in colonial clothes. He
Okay.
was reading off of a phone, and he also had like a speaker that he was standing on.
Okay.
He was reading off a bunch of things of like the people that are in power have tarnished that trust, and giving this speech about it basically. I didn't watch the entire thing, but I did record a little excerpt of it. So that was the first thing that I saw. I walked around. I saw people selling Buck Ice t-shirts. I got a
Love
little
it.
pin for myself. There were people that did like friendship bracelets for donations. And they had a way of tallying who came. So every
Okay.
person that they saw, they'd ask, "Hey guys, have you been counted yet?" And if you said no, they'd give you a little sticker.
Okay.
And then they counted back how many stickers were remaining from the total, and how many ever stickers they gave away. That's how many people that showed up.
Okay.
So I think at this one, I think 3,000 people showed up
Wow.
total. And I know that from the statistics that I read online, across the entire country, there were 3,300-ish protests across the entire country,
Okay.
not including the 11 plus other countries that had protests.
Holy shit.
This was a new record for the country.
Okay.
The biggest rally, the biggest non-violent protest mass around the entire country was No King's Day 3, with
Okay.
8 to 9 million people showing up.
Wow.
Not even counting the other countries that got involved too. I know that Ireland, Greenland, Britain, Switzerland, all of them,
Okay.
and other ones that I forget. Probably Germany. I'm sure that Germany did.
Yeah.
Because Germany had been having protests about
Yeah.
it. France,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really good vibes. Everybody was really sweet.
That's a great thing for people that have not been to protests. Like, if you're interested about going, obviously, like, do your research before you go and what to do. But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of fear mongering when it comes to protests. Obviously,
Yes.
when you stay later at night,
Yeah, that's
shit
when
gets
things
crazy.
get dicey. Yeah.
But during the day, it's a really cool place to go if you're feeling kind of like hopeless about what's going on. You're feeling like you do need that collective energy. Go to these protests. And a lot of times when you go, for instance, like the state capitol, that's always a very safe place. Like, I've seen kids there, dogs.
Yeah.
If you stay in that area, usually you're pretty safe. You can hear the speakers that talk, but it's a really cool thing to go to where you see, okay, look at how many people care about what's going on. Look at how many people are upset what's going on.
Yeah.
We're all here in this same place. We all have this shared collective energy and feeling about what's going on. And every protest I've ever been to, I have felt that, like, when I leave, I feel like more charged up
too.
because it's
Me
like,
too.
okay, we're trying our best. We're doing what we need to do and what we can do.
And people are super nice.
Yeah.
Super
There's
nice.
always people picking up trash.
Yeah.
There's always people handing out free food and water.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that bring gear for, like, if you are pepper sprayed and stuff. They have
Yeah.
like milk and first aid and stuff like that. Yeah,
It's a good way to
cool thing to be a part of.
find community. I found out that at this protest, the same location, they host a protest on Wednesdays and Sundays. So I'm
Okay.
definitely going to check that out.
Yeah.
I want more of that. I want more community.
Right.
I want to be able to support more and go to these protests a little bit more.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, like, obviously do your research and make sure that you're aware that things always can go wrong. There's
Yeah.
always people that can infiltrate. There's people that start shit. They don't speak for the protests as a whole.
Yeah.
So
And
everybody else
sometimes
needs
I
to
will
stay aware.
say there's some undercover cops there
That too.
that kind of start some shit, and they do kind of try to set up some protesters and stuff. So
Which is not cool,
Yeah.
but it does happen. So be
just
aware of
don't try
them.
to engage. Just
Make sure it's
chill.
peaceful.
Yeah.
Don't go starting fires.
And so this is, and some people are like, okay, why are we protesting? It's not doing anything. This is a great place to go to where you can get more resources and how to help further. You can make those connections. You can talk to people. You can, like Sam said, there's now groups that meet up and kind of do the same thing more frequently.
Yep.
So it's like, it helps you find a community where then you can be like, okay, how can I help? How can I contribute? Even if it's picking up trash, again, watching your friends' kids so they can go, giving free haircuts, like as hairstylists, like we've done that in the past.
Or like handing out some water.
Handing out water. Yeah, again, so many things you can do
You
to
could
just
be a counter. Just
help.
get some stickers.
Yeah, no, literally to help aid your community. But yeah, that's what's gonna keep us going with this fight. We got to keep going.
There were a few. I interviewed about 7 people in total.
Okay.
2 of them were in couples, so I count those as just one. So in turns, like 5.
Okay.
One person said that he was a black man, and he had been in protests all of his life, and his mom actually ended up getting him into it.
Okay.
His mom was a part of I'm sure that she was a part of the Vietnam War protests.
Okay.
He was old enough to the point where I think he might have, but I didn't ask about that. But
okay.
She was fighting segregation. She was fighting for women's rights. She had been a protester for all of her life, and it was really cool to chat with this guy. And I might even link might link some of these interviews after we finish up because they were really, really cool. I met somebody that did march on Washington during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
I met a 90-year-old Republican that was protesting against Trump. Wow. She was really, really sweet. I met a couple that was all dressed up, and they were protesting Trump with a big "fuck Trump" flag. And who else? There was one other person that I'm forgetting. But I'll try to link those guys in the later part. Just some of the highlights of those conversations, and I just asked them things like, "What does protesting mean to you? What's the worst thing that do you think Trump has done? What's the thing that you would say to the people of Colorado or to the country?" And I got some really cool answers. And
honestly, I'm excited to hear about those. I think that'll be cool because that is another really cool thing about going to these protests is. We're not the oldest ones there. There's so many people that have come before us that have put in so much fucking work. Like the last protest I went to was for immigration. And obviously this was like kind of the first part of ICE stuff happening and all that. And so I met a lot of cool people that, again, they've been protesting back to the Vietnam War. So it's really cool to see that it's like there's people out there still fighting for what's right. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah. So let's keep it up, guys, because we're doing good stuff.
We are.
Trump's getting blocked in Congress.
Woo.
And people are doing nice things like building overpasses for animals.
Yeah. So
and the world is not all doom and gloom.
Right. Try to do one nice thing for a person, an animal, yourself, a day.
Yes.
And watch how your world changes.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps us up, except for the next couple of minutes. So thank you, Peyton, so much for being here with me.
Thanks, Sam.
I'm Sam.
I'm Peyton.
And this has been Uncontrolled Population. We will chat with you guys next time. Bye. What does protesting mean to you?
There's hope for a change.
What stands out as one of the worst things that the administration has done today?
Oh, as that sign said, there isn't enough cardboard. What is the worst thing? Trying to be a king, I guess.
Trying to take power and hoard power? What does protesting mean for you?
It's your voice. It's a way to show that you're an American. It's in the Constitution, peaceful protest.
How long have you been protesting?
Oh, geez, my mom started when I was a kid. So, being an African American, the protest has never stopped.
Amazing. When you're at a protest, how does it make you feel when there's like a turnout like this?
Well, you feel supported, Not only do you have a voice, but you're seeing other people share their voice, and it makes you feel proud to be an American because, that is what it's all about is, going out here and standing up with what you believe is the right thing to do and what you believe is right for everyone else.
When you are surrounded by like-minded individuals, how important do you feel like community is to standing up to people trying to keep you down?
Well, community is important, whether it's, like-minded voice or whatever, showing, getting together. That's what we're all about as humans, and we need community. Whether that's, community in church, community at the food bank, community at school, we all need community. And getting involved, being part of that community, you find people like you find your people, and that's ultimately part of being a human.
Amazing. My last question for you: if you were to say one thing to the people of Denver, what would it be?
Hi, my brothers and sisters. Thanks for showing up.
Amazing. How do you feel about the current administration?
I saw the after effects of the same sort of administration in Germany.
Oh, wow.
I was in the military. My father was one of the first into the camps. I was there 15, 20 years later. I knew many people who survived the camps. I know many people whose families didn't.
How did that impact you at a younger age?
Every time I was in Germany, I was a pilot. I was there sometimes twice a day. Anybody over the age of 40, I was always wondering, what were you doing during the war?
That's a good question to ask.
I'm so seeing the same thing happening here. I never thought it could happen.
What does protesting mean to you?
It means I realize I'm not the only person who is detesting what is happening.
Do you believe that there is a certain point from being well-rounded and well-traveled that revolution is necessary?
Only when we have dictatorships. Otherwise, that's the only time. So I'd love to see a revolution in Myanmar. I'd love to see a revolution in Russia. But the one problem is, when it's a revolution, who's in charge?
How would you describe the current administration running America today?
Inept, geriatric, full of pedophiles and billionaires. They are all looking out for each other's interests and don't even care about the working class Americans.
It's an absolute fail. It needs to be shrunk down and redone, and it's an absolute fail. It doesn't work for the people.
Would you say that it's corrupt to its core, at its roots?
Oh my God, way even further, probably past that.
It's corrupt past the core, due south to the secret island, where all the politicians, left or right, have their hands in each other's pockets and little kids.
What stands to be the worst thing that Donald Trump has done in office?
Lie about the Epstein files for me.
I feel like it's more like, what hasn't he done? Because everything he does is just awful. He's an awful human being.
Yeah.
Even his best friend has said that he's an awful person. So.
How long have you guys been coming to protests?
This is my second protest. My first one was No Kings Part 2.
Amazing, mine too. Actually, right over here. How about you?
Agreed. Same.
Same?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
absolutely.
Thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely,
No, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Patriotism.
Absolutely. What would be one meaningful change Denver politics could make, in your opinion? Even if that means kicking out ICE.
Yeah.
Getting rid of ICE would be a really good start. And I know it's not that easy, but, enable the people. Give us the right to protect ourselves against officers without just being gunned down. If a cop can shoot you because they see a gun, you do not have the right to bear arms.
Amen to that.
For as bad as ICE is, everything right now, everybody is struggling. I think it needs to be more for the people, whether it's housing and food cost and all that stuff. It just needs to get better for everybody.
Agreed.
ICE affects a certain group of people. It's affecting everybody.
Agree to that. And my last thing, if you two could say one thing to the people of Colorado, what would it be?
Keep fighting.
Keep
love that.
fighting. Absolutely. We need your resistance and we need your peace. And Colorado has always been a blue state, and it needs to stay that way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
How long have you folks been coming to protests?
Last year.
Yeah, last year.
Started last year.
Would you say that the No Kings protest has been pivotal in getting you guys involved?
Yes.
Amazing. And why come to one of these protests?
To have our voice heard.
Yeah. Make sure that.
I spent my youth going to protest against Vietnam War.
You did?
Yeah.
What was it like protesting in Vietnam? I'm just curious.
Well, I marched on Washington in 1971.
Wow.
There was 1 million people showed up for it, and we got out of Vietnam over it. So
It's true.
It paid off.
Do you believe or feel like the protests that are happening more and more, like No King's Day and some of the local ones that I just heard of, one of these people in vests, they do it every Sunday.
Yeah.
I just heard the same thing.
Do you believe that that is actually making a real change here in America?
I think it can. It's still just starting. But the more people that make their voice heard,
And that's
the more
it.
the politicians have to listen.
When people get together, they see they're not alone. So it's not a single voice. It's a community of voices. And it makes them, it makes me feel good to know that if I sit in my home and I'm just reading the news and I'm seeing what's going on and getting more scared and upset and afraid of other people, this makes me realize that there are people who are fighting for the truth, to defend democracy, to not just roll over and see what's going on. So it is good.
Yeah, and more people, a lot of people I speak to still think it's just Trump being Trump, or they don't really take it seriously, and I don't think they realize the danger we're in.
What would you say to that end to those people?
Open your eyes, just read the news across the spectrum, because if you're getting your news from one conservative source, you don't really know what's going on. You're getting fed a line of bullshit.
I agree. Personally, I agree. For those of you listening, she was pointing to a sign held by this gentleman called "Dictators Fall When People Rise," which I love. Thank you so much for that. 2 questions left. One of them is, what would you say to those who are either too scared or they don't believe that protests will make a meaningful change? What would you say to those folks sitting at home?
They're going to come for you anyhow.
They are.
So you might as well get heard.
Yeah. And there's, safety in numbers. The more you're out with other people like-minded, the more that you can come up with action plans and things to do. It's hard to just sit home thinking, I'm one of these silent majority. I don't want to be that.
I was born 9 years after the Holocaust.
Wow.
In an American Jewish home. So I was raised to know that this can happen regardless of what you think is going to happen. This can happen. It's happened before, and it's happening now.
I agree. My last question for you folks, what would you say to either the people of Colorado in general or the people of the USA?
What I would say is that for years, I've always been unaffiliated. I don't identify with one or the other, never have. But I've never seen anything like this before, where there's no decency, where people, I voted both sides again because, I voted my conscience or whatever. So, but I've never seen such, a president say that half of the country doesn't belong here because they're Democrats, that because of your politics. That's what I say. All are welcome. All sizes, all colors, all cultures, all genders, all orientations, all beliefs, all religions, all ages, all people.
Amazing. What about you?
Well, again, I think that people don't realize how serious. I think that what I'd say to everybody is you really need to open your eyes, because if you think that your politicians have your best interests at heart, you're fooling yourself. Just look at what they're publicly doing, and it doesn't address the problems of people. They're, pandering to billionaires. They're not there for the common man. And the right wing, outright, is just looking out for big business, always has. I am a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat, and I believe the Democratic Party ultimately is there to help people, and the Republican Party is to help big business.
So the light side and the dark side all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, folks.
That sums it up.
The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich is one of them. There's many books out there, and you'll see by the book what this administration has done. It's by the book.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming out, showing your support, and enriching the community.
What's the name of your podcast?
Uncontrolled Population.
Okay.
Okay.
Amazing. Thank you, folks. Have a great day.